Welcome back to my animal education series. Today I'm here with Bill Streeter at the Delaware Valley Raptor Center. Hello.
Hi, Cole.
What do we have here?
This is a Red-tailed hawk. Her name is Nikana. She is 31 years old, and she's been an ambassador for the Delaware Valley Raptor Center for that many years. Red-tails are one of the largest hawks in North America, and certainly one of the most common hawks as well. These are the birds that are big birds of wide open country. If you see a big bird flying in circles that is light underneath with the wings straight out or just slightly tilted, it's probably a red-tailed hawk. And they're often the birds that are seen along highways, sitting on telephone poles and light standers at intersections that go over the roads. They eat a lot of mice in the median barriers and along the roadsides, and they're not freaked out by the cars that come by, so it's a good food source for them. I always thought that the Eisenhower administration interstate highway system was the best thing that could have ever happened to red-tailed hawks. I'm sure their populations just exploded after that, after the interstates were put in.
So it's a very common bird. They could be in your town. You got mice problem, have these birds nearby. That problem probably go away very soon.
They take care of the mouse problem pretty easily. They eat a lot. They eat mostly mice, but they'll eat this. It's such a big, powerful bird. They'll eat rabbits, and they will even eat gray squirrels. And gray squirrels are tough prey because they have really tough skin to break through, and they're also nasty biters. So for a red-tail to catch a gray squirrel, it'll have to actually grab it by the head and hold on to the head so that it doesn't get bitten. But it has the foot to do so. If you look at the size of her feet, really big, powerful feet, long, curved, sharp, grasping talons. And if you ever had any doubt about a bird-dinosaur link, if you took a really close look at her feet, you can see it looks just like the scales of a reptile there. So she's quite impressive.
How does her plumage and her coloration help her out in the wild?
Well, red-tails don't have to depend a whole lot on camouflage. I'm sure the tail itself might help a little bit with mating displays and stuff like that. But there's a little bit of camouflage if they want to sit quietly in a tree in the woods, unmoving. They would be a little bit tough to notice. But for the most part, they can use the tails for display. And this is true with a lot of hawks. Usually if you're looking at the back of a falcon, and the tail, it all looks like the exact same stuff, the exact same plumage. But hawks usually have a tail that differs from the plumage of their wings and their back. Most likely they're striped, but red-tails are pretty unique, especially the eastern red-tails, which have very few stripes in their tail. And it's just this glorious-looking tail that is often overlooked because they're so common. It's like when people see robins. You see robins all the time, but robins are extraordinarily beautiful birds, but we see them all the time, so it's not that big of a deal. So people say, see a hawk, that's just a red-tail. But the Europeans, they are. The Europeans go crazy over these birds because they make good falconry birds too. They're big, powerful hunters, and people will fly them for falconry. And they don't occur in Europe. They're only North American birds. And so a European, they would just love to fly these birds because they're not only big and powerful with huge feet, but they're spectacular looking as well.
And back to the power, when she was flapping around, I felt all that power in her flapping.
You can.
Just generated all that wind.
She's got a 4-foot wingspan, and she's a big female, and female birds of prey are about a third larger than male birds of prey are. So she weighs, well, right now she's probably pretty porky, but she probably weighs about 3.5 pounds or so, whereas a male red-tail would weigh 2.5 pounds. So there's quite a difference, and it's tough to notice a difference unless they're flying in the air together, and you'll see one bird bigger than the other, and you'll know that the bigger one is the female.
You said that these birds ate rodents and the occasional gray squirrel and stuff like that. And how exactly do they hunt these prey items?
They generally will stake out an area. They what's called still hunting, and they'll sit in the tree, and it's usually in an area where they have been successful hunting before. And they will keep their eyes open for anything that moves. It could be a garter snake, it could be a mouse, it could be a really good cottontail rabbit spot. And they just sit and they look and they wait, and when they see something, they generally just fall out of the tree, tuck their wings back, and crash down and grab it, and again try to get a foot on the head of the animal, unless it's just a mouse, and then they just grab it and they eat it quite quickly. But I've seen red tails hunting and carrying snakes, as well as mice and chipmunks. They're hunting squirrels. It's kind of an entirely different thing, because you have this tree top wildlife play going on right in front of your eyes if you've ever seen a hawk flying at a squirrel. And the squirrel will try to go up and down the back of the tree. If you've ever walked through the woods and squirrels go up tree trunks, they always go to the back of the tree so that you can't see them. And so I've seen hawks start at the top of the tree going after a squirrel. The squirrel's running down the tree in a corkscrew, and the hawk's corkscrewing down all the way down, trying to go after it and catch it. I've also seen a red-tailed hawk grab a squirrel right out of the air when the squirrel was jumping from one tree to the other. The hawk just swooped down and grabbed it with one foot. So it can
That's
be.
some skill.
It is. It's very skilled. They're extremely fast, as well as being very quick of feet. And for such a big, powerful bird, they can be quite agile, considering that they're not necessarily built like the accipiter hawks, which are built to catch other birds and fly a little bit faster. They can also crash cover better than a smaller bird can do. So a rabbit in a briar patch where there are a lot of thorns and stuff, whereas another bird would be put off by that, a big heavy red tail can just crash right through and grab its prey. So they depend on their size and their bulk to actually help them hunt as well.
Like the bodybuilders of the bird world. Some like normal people, like if they see a paper wall or something thin, they're like, nah, I'm trying to find a door or something. These guys probably just barge right through.
They can barge right through. I once saw a red-tailed, I didn't want it to happen. It was my falconry red-tailed hawk, but I was standing in my garage and she saw something through, and it was one of these old garage doors with the glass windows up top. She saw something through the window, and she got off my fist, and she actually broke right through that window, and it really scared me badly. I was hoping that she wasn't injured, and she wasn't at all. I was very lucky, but she flew right through the window, and it takes quite a bit of power to do something like that.
It takes control for a person, much heavier than a bird to go through a window.
Yeah.
But this bird just, okay.
Yeah, considering she only weighs, well, like I said, 3.5 pounds, and that's big. That's big for a female red-tail. Most wild red-tail females are probably a little bit less than 3 pounds, 2 3/4 pounds, something like that. She's a big girl.
How does this bird come into your facility?
She was hit by a car, and she had a head injury, and head injuries often result in blindness in one or both eyes. She's blind in her left eye, and you can see the cloudiness there. And she was actually quite famous for a day. She was on Tom Brokaw's Nightly News on NBC. She made the national television news because she had an experimental surgery done on her eye at a human hospital in Massachusetts. Again, this was 31 years ago. The surgery was unsuccessful. Eventually, she was transferred to the Delaware Valley Raptor Center, but this is often the case with one-eyed hawks. They fly in the direction of sight. So Nikana, when he's free in wide open country, always circles to her right. In heavy cover in the woods, she'll slam her left wing on tree branches and other objects that she is not adjusted for over there. So then rather than use her, rather than try to put her back into the wild, which we don't with one-eyed birds, we trained her to use for education. And she's been working for the Delaware Valley Raptor Center since 1984 when we got her.
Well, thank you so much for telling us about these red-tailed hawks.
You're welcome, Cole. It's been my pleasure.
If you guys have enjoyed this week's episode, don't forget to leave a big thumbs up down below, and subscribe to our channel. Come back next week.